Welcome back to the Code Easy channel. Today we are going to learn how to use for loop in the C programming language. In today's tutorial, for loop in C language, we will include the following explanations on how to use for loop, practical examples with for loops and exercises that they will solve together. Let's get started. First of all, let's see what a for loop looks like in C. To write a for loop in the C language, we use the reserved word for, followed by two round brackets. Between the two round brackets, there are three expressions, denoted by me, expression 1, expression 2, and expression 3. The three expressions are separated with semicolons. It is very important to keep in mind that any of the three expressions may be missing, or even all three at a time. Now let's see what each expression means. Expression 1 is the initialization expression, which initializes our counter at each for loop that was run. For example, if we use a variable I inside the for loop, then the expression 1 can be I equal to 0, if we want to count the for loops run from 0. Expression 2 is the condition that must be fulfilled in order to run the code inside the loop from the brackets. For example, expression 2 may be, I less that 6. If expression 2 is true, then we continue rolling the code in parentheses, that is, from the body of the for loop. If the expression 2 is false, the for loop stops and we continue the program with the next line of code that follows after the for loop, that is, after the last brace. Expression 3 is the instruction of incrementation, which tells us how we want to change the meter at each step. Expression 3 is executed after we run the code inside the braces. So the execution order is as follows. We execute the expression 1 only once, only at the first scroll of the loop. We check if the expression 2 is true. If it is true, we run the code from the braces, and then execute the expression 3. At the next step, we skip the expression 1, because it is taken into account only the first time. We check again if the expression 2 is true. We run the code and execute the expression 3. This loop is repeat until the expression 2 becomes false. Now let's take a practical example and find out together what result the following code will have. We see that on the first line, we declare an integer variable, called m, and we initialize it with the value 2. Then we have the for loop. With yellow, we have the expression of initialization that is executed only once, so at the step 1 we declare and initialize the I with 0. Then we check if the I is less than 3, the expression 2 with green, it is true. So we execute the code from the braces, and m grows by 3, so now m will be 5, and in the end we execute the expression 3, the one with blue, through which we grow I with a unit, so from 0, the variable I becomes 1. Now we resume the for loop again. The expression of initialization, the one with yellow, is no longer taken into account, and we proceed to check if expression 2, the one with green, is true. Variable I is now 1, so it's smaller than 3, so the expression 2 is true. Execute the code again from the braces, and m grows again by 3 units, from 5 to 8. Then we execute the expression 3, the one with the blue, and I increase from 1 to 2. We resume the loop again. We are in step 3 now. We check again if expression 2 is true. The variable I that is now 2 is less than 3. It's true. Therefore, we execute the code from the body of the for loop. M grows again by 3 units, from 8 to 11. Then we execute the expression 3, and the variable I increases from the value 2 to the value 3. We resume the for loop again and check if the expression 2 is true. The variable I is now 3. Therefore, it is not strictly less than 3. So expression 2 is false, which means that our loop stops. We execute the code that follows, that is, we make the 2 hits to the console with the value of m and the value of I. Let's also test with the online compiler to make sure we get the same values. We write the program from the example in online compiler. We execute the program by pressing the Run button and notice that we have obtained the same output in the console we expect. We've also prepared 4 exercises to help us fix the information learned. Let's start with the first exercise. We have to write a program that displays the first 10 natural numbers. For this, we will declare a variable I that we initialize with 0. Then we write the loop for, where we start from 1 to 10 inclusive, because we want to display all the numbers from 1 to 10. The incrementing step is 1, and in the body of the for loop, we only have to display at the console the value of I, which will pass at each step from 1 to 2 to 3, and so on to 10. We run and notice that we managed to solve the first exercise well. For the second exercise, we must write a program that calculates the sum of the first 10 natural numbers. We will declare again the variable I that we initialize with 0. We write the for loop. The initialization expression is I equals 1, because we want to calculate 1 plus 2 plus 3, and so on, up to 10. Then the expression 2 is that it is less than or equal to 10, and the increment step is also 1. For the amount, we also need a new variable, to call it sum, in which to store all our calculations. Inside the loop, we add and sum the value of I, and at the end, we display the amount obtained. We run the program and get that the sum of the first 10 natural numbers is 55. The third exercise requires us to write a program that displays the board of multiplication up to 10 of an integer number. We declare again a variable I that we initialize with 0 and a variable that we call given underscore number to tell us whose number we will display the multiplication table. We write the for loop. We start with the initialization expression I equal to 0 if we want to calculate the multiplication table and by 0. Expression 2 will be given by the condition that it is less than or equal to 10, and the increment step will also be 1. This time, in the body of the loop, we will have only the display function, which will be repeated 11 times, including for 0. We display first the text given underscore number multiplied by I, and then the actual value of the calculation. We run the program first for given number equal to 6. We see that I obtained the multiplication board for 6. Now we can test with another value, for example with 12. The last exercise requires us to display the cube of all integers up to a certain given number. In other words, starting from 0, we display the cube of all integers up to a number given by us from the keyboard. Now we know that the first thing we have to do is declare the variable I that we initialize with 0. We also declare a variable given underscore integer that tells us up to what number to calculate the cube. Write the for loop, start from 0, with I to be less than or equal to the value given by us from the keyboard, the given integer variable, and increment step 1. Inside the for loop, we have only one instruction. We display on the console I at the power 3. We run and check. Thanks for viewing. A like and subscribe would be of great help to me. Next time we will discuss the while loop. See you next